Gold? Power? None of that matters. Only the one who truly sees us will succeed. But will anyone ever understand who we really are?
It's me. I know your secret.
Once upon a time, in a distant land, where the sun always shone warmly and the air was filled with laughter, there was a simple village, as if it had just stepped out of a beautiful painting. The scenery here was peaceful, and every corner of the village radiated life, as though it was born from nature itself, with lush green mountains and crystal-clear streams. This was the homeland of King Hakee, a ruler known not only for his wisdom, but also for his open heart. King Hakee ruled this kingdom, not with power or strict laws, but with kindness, with a sincere care for every citizen in his realm. He always made time to listen to the wishes of the people, protecting them from hardship and preserving peace. Because of this, he was loved and respected, not only for his intellect, but also for his compassionate and generous nature. King Hakee had a happy family. His first wife, Queen Selene, gave him 3 beautiful daughters, each like a bright blooming flower. Ariela, Laya, and Zara. These princesses were not only beautiful on the outside, but also possessed kind hearts, full of dreams and a thirst for freedom. They were not the type of princesses who sat by the window waiting for a prince to come and propose. Instead, they were strong-willed princesses who loved to run freely across vast green fields, laughing and playing, exploring the wonders of their kingdom. As for King Hakeem's second wife, Queen Amina, she bore him 2 sons, both talented, strong, and brave, future heirs to the kingdom. However, the light of the princes could never compare to the brilliance of the 3 princesses. But what truly made these 3 princesses special was the freedom within their souls. Every day, instead of sitting quietly in the palace, wearing elegant gowns, they would run around covered in mud with their hair messy, not caring about the judgmental glances of the people around them. They laughed, they played, and they never stopped exploring the world. These princesses did not care about the rules of the palace, nor did they pay any attention to the glamorous titles others wanted them to uphold. They wanted only one thing: to live a free, joyful, and happy life, to be themselves without being bound by societal norms. In those moments, the 3 princesses were like gentle winds, sweeping through the village, carrying with them the sound of their pure laughter and the freshness of youth. They were not just the pride of the kingdom, but symbols of freedom and the belief in a simple, yet meaningful life. Every year, the village held a special festival that no one ever wanted to miss. It was an important event, where princes from distant kingdoms and wealthy men from all corners of the world gathered to seek worthy brides. The village square would burst into life, filled with cheerful music, fluttering flags, and the sweet aroma of delicious food. Beautiful girls from nearby villages and far-off lands would flock to the event, dressed in their finest gowns, their faces glowing with makeup and their movements graceful as they danced, hoping to catch the eye of a noble prince. The atmosphere was lively and buzzing with excitement, as if the entire kingdom was alive with joy and hope. Everyone wanted to be a part of the journey to find love and wealth. But amidst the splendor of the festival, King Hakeem's 3 princesses showed no interest. They sat quietly in the palace, gazing out the window. Their eyes followed the festivities outside, but their hearts were unmoved. As the young men entered the palace, each one carrying precious gifts and offering sweet words of flattery, the 3 princesses simply shook their heads in rejection. One princess, her face cold and distant, spoke with a bitter tone.
He is too arrogant. Does he really think his wealth can buy love?
Another princess sighed deeply, gazing out the window, her eyes heavy with sadness.
Even with a mountain of gold, he could never stir my heart.
The young men, with their cumbersome gifts, beaming smiles, and sweet, suggestive words, seemed unable to stir any emotions in the 3 princesses. The girls were uninterested in the extravagant promises or the luxurious lives these men offered. One bold man even dared to propose marrying all 3 princesses at once, wishing to make them his 7 wives. His words immediately caused whispers among the villagers. But the princesses only smiled and glanced at each other, unfazed. They calmly replied, "We will find true love when the time is right." Every year, other beautiful girls would find wealthy princes, but the three princesses remained steadfast in their belief that true love wasn't something that could be found in a glittering festival. For them, the love they sought wasn't an easy love, a love that could be bought with material things or sparkling compliments. They wanted a love they could trust, a love that truly understood them, that saw beyond their crowns and titles and looked at who they really were. When the festival ended, other girls joyfully showed off their sparkling rings, smiling brightly beside their princes. But the three princesses stood still, with no rush or excitement. They didn't feel lonely or deprived because they understood that love would come at the right time. And when it did, it would not be just a promise, it would be a deep connection. They believed that true love would find them, not something that could be discovered in a festival, but something that would come naturally, in its own time and way. The three princesses held firm to this belief, their hearts open, ready to wait for true love. And in that moment, even though the festival had ended, a new chapter in their love story had yet to truly begin. When the three princesses grew up, each became a beautiful, dazzling young woman with bright eyes and hearts full of longing for freedom. Yet love remained something elusive, something they couldn't quite grasp. They watched their brothers find happiness beside beautiful brides, with glowing smiles and grand weddings. But deep in the hearts of the three princesses, a strange feeling began to grow, as though something was still missing, not yet complete. Even though they knew one day they would have to find a partner for life, they couldn't bring themselves to enter a relationship without feeling whole, without feeling that it was real. One night, the three princesses decided to approach their father, King Hakee, with an unexpected request. They walked into the throne room, their eyes glowing with determination.
"Father, we want to hold a festival of our own,"
Ariela, the eldest princess, said in a calm but firm voice. A festival not to claim valuable gifts or flaunt power, but one where the men can truly showcase their character, not through gold or silver, but with their hearts and talents. King Hakee looked at his three daughters, his eyes filled with surprise mixed with pride. He had always known that his daughters were different from other girls in the kingdom, but today he truly felt the maturity in their decision. "If that is what you wish, I will organize this festival," King Hakee replied, his voice firm and resolute. "But remember, your request is not an easy one. Prepare yourselves for challenges that will not be simple." With King Hakeem's approval, the entire village buzzed with excitement about the upcoming event. The villagers couldn't stop talking about this festival, one that was unlike any other. Young men from distant lands began to practice, sharpening their skills and talents, from brave warriors to gifted artists. They came not just to win the hearts of the three princesses, but also to prove themselves, to earn the respect of those they admired. The three princesses stood on the palace balcony, watching the crowd pour into the village from all directions. They felt the eagerness and anticipation in the eyes of the young men, but in their hearts, they still felt uncertain. They didn't know what this festival would bring, but a strange, unfamiliar feeling began to rise within them. Could this be the moment they had been waiting for? A chance to find the true love they longed for, not one based on gifts or status, but one built on a real connection, heart to heart. This festival was entirely different from the ones before. It wasn't a place for young men to merely show off their strength or wealth. The real challenge of this festival wasn't about power nor about standing out, but about whether they could see through the facade and recognize the true beauty of the three princesses, beyond their crowns and lavish robes. The true challenge of the festival wasn't about finding who could bring the most valuable gifts, but who could guess the real names of the three princesses. This was a challenge no one had expected, one that would test not just sharp eyes, but also a deep understanding of the essence and heart of each princess. For the young men from all over, this competition wasn't just about winning the princess's attention. It was about proving that they could see beyond the glittering surface, that they could recognize the inner beauty. And amidst all the participants, would anyone be perceptive enough to understand the true hearts of the three princesses? The challenge began, and the three princesses watched from afar, their hearts full of hope and anticipation. They were not just looking for a strong prince, but for someone who could understand and love them in the way they truly deserved. Amid the crowd of young men boasting of their strength, wealth, and valuable gifts, there was one man whom no one noticed. His name was Okon, an alcoholic, constantly called the Fool by the villagers, someone who never stood out. People often saw him stumbling through the village with a downcast look, dreamy eyes, messy hair, and never participating in important conversations. Stories of brave princes and skilled warriors always overshadowed Okon's name in the minds of everyone. However, when the festival to find a bride took place, and news of the challenge to guess the princesses' names reached his ears, an unusual feeling stirred within Okon. He didn't know why, but a new thought began to grow in him. Why not me? Why can't I try to find out the names of the princesses? A strong feeling of change suddenly overwhelmed him. Okon realized that this could be his one chance to prove that he wasn't useless, that he wasn't the man everyone in the village looked down on. He told himself, if I can do this, maybe something great will change. With unexpected determination, Okon began to follow the three princesses, not rushing, not revealing his presence, simply observing them from afar. He saw them laughing joyfully on sunny mornings, enjoying their freedom in adventurous excursions and delighting in the simple moments of life. Though there were times he tried to get closer, he still could not hear their real names. Their conversations were always filled with laughter and playful antics, but never with words that would reveal their true identities. Yet this did not lessen Okon's resolve. He continued to watch, knowing that one day he would get the answer. Then, an unexpected event occurred. One day, as the three princesses were walking near the edge of the forest, the youngest princess, Zara, suddenly tripped into a deep hole and fell to the ground. Her cry echoed in the stillness of the air, and Okon, hidden behind a nearby bush, couldn't stand still and watch. In that moment, he felt a powerful urge, not for any other reason, but out of a genuine desire to help these princesses. Without hesitation, Okon stepped out from his hiding place, hurriedly running to where Zara lay, helping her up and comforting her. The three princesses looked at him, surprise and shock evident in their eyes, but also a hint of gratitude. What truly amazed Okon was not just the moment he helped Zara, but the bond he witnessed between the princesses. He saw the love and care they had for one another, the worried glances, the gestures of tenderness that only true love could create. In that moment, something deep within Okon stirred. The real names of the princesses suddenly became clear in his mind. He realized that the love and connection the three princesses shared with each other was the key to unlocking this mystery. Okon stood still for a moment, looking into their eyes. Then finally, he took a deep breath, stepped forward, and said, I know who you are. You are Ariela, Laya, and Zara. The three princesses were astonished, their eyes wide with disbelief. They had never expected someone they had once considered a fool to be the one to uncover the secret that all the other men had failed to solve. In that moment, a profound change occurred, not only in Okon, but also in the princesses. They realized that their hearts were not drawn to gifts or external grandeur, but to those who could see and understand them, those who could see the truth beyond the outer facade. And Okon, with all his simplicity and sincerity, had shown them this. And so, the story of Okon and the three princesses began. A story not only about the transformation of one man, but also about love, understanding, and a deeper connection between heart and heart. The scene in the village suddenly grew silent as everyone's eyes turned toward Okon. A man who had once been considered nothing more than a drunken fool now stood in the middle of the square, his eyes shining with a determination no one had ever expected from him. Despite the doubtful gazes surrounding him, Okon stood firm. He took a deep breath, as though summoning all his courage, and then, with a voice full of conviction, he declared,
I know the names of the princesses. They are Ariela, Laya, and Zara.
The entire village was stunned, as if a storm had just swept through their minds. Never before had anyone dared to make such a bold claim. The young men who had participated in the festival and failed to guess the secret stood frozen, mouths agape. Even those who had ridiculed Okon, calling him foolish and without a future, now fell silent. They couldn't believe what they had just heard. And then, an even more shocking revelation caused the eyes of everyone in the village to widen. Okon continued, his voice steady, as though he was ready to face all the truths.
I am not the drunken fool you think I am. I am Prince Okon from a neighboring kingdom. I disguise myself as a fool to understand the true hearts of the princesses.
At that moment, the whole village seemed to stop breathing. The surprise spread through every corner, from the elders to the children, as no one could comprehend what had just happened. Prince Okon, the one they had mocked, turned out to be the man whom the three princesses loved and respected. The princesses, who had always sought true love, now looked at him with eyes filled with admiration and respect. They had seen something in him that no one else had noticed, a patience, wisdom, and sincerity that overcame every trial. King Hakee, the father of the princesses, looked at Okon, his eyes shining with both surprise and respect. He had once worried about whether his daughters would find someone worthy of their love, and now he saw clearly that Okon was the one. King Hakee looked at his three daughters, then turned to Okon, and with a voice full of satisfaction, he said, My daughters have found true love. If you truly love them, I give you my blessing to marry them. The three princesses stood there, hand in hand, smiling at Okon. Their eyes sparkled, filled with love, as they knew that the love they had been searching for was not something that could be bought with wealth or power, but was a connection between hearts. Okon had proven that he could see their true beauty, not just through their shining crowns, but through the sincerity of his soul. With King Hakeem's blessing, the three princesses and Prince Okon began a new life. A life they would build together, not based on fame or wealth, but on understanding, respect, and true love. They were not just life partners, but soulmates, ready to face every challenge and journey ahead. The village, once unchanged, would never be the same again, and the story of the three princesses and Prince Okon became a legend. The people of the village no longer remembered Okon as a drunken fool, but as a symbol of patience, sincerity, and true love. Their story became a powerful lesson for everyone about wisdom, patience, and the strength of love that conquers all challenges. Day after day, the story of the three princesses and Prince Okon was passed down through generations. A story not only about love, but about truth, change, and the power of trusting in oneself, even when the world around you does not believe. This story was not just a legend in the village, it was a living lesson about how love can change everything.